Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna here. Basically, we are discussing on the topic that is city creation. City creation, basically, we are discussing on the topic that is India account. In India account, basically, we are discussing many topics that is SBI and the Amazon, and the last is after 2 days, basically, the earthquake is going to happen. So, the topic basically is ongoing. So, here, basically, we are discussing one topic that is 1 lakh companies has created 10 crore project. 10 crore project basically are going to generate some data that is basically chemical data, and then basically that data basically is going to dump in the form of lava that is inside the sand basically, and inside the land also basically you can say. That is basically one process basically which is created by set of satellite group basically, because each and every star task basically which is created in earth planet, that is created by satellite groups only basically. They have only created. So that is one thing basically. So lava basically is dumped into the certain level of areas, and that is basically going to generate 100 crore child and their ideas. So one of the person basically asked the question, the child mapping and the child basically which is going to have all ideas basically that are mapped in the lava data, or basically it's mapped in the uh, when the companies basically are creating projects, that time basically that is getting mapped. That is basically the 10 crore project basically which they are going to do. They are basically done basically. So in that 10 crore project basically, unlike company basically has done that, or basically 1 crore project. Here just basically we are not going to the number, just the concept thing basically. So 10 crore project basically the Mumbai city is going to do. They basically, one of the person told that the child mapping basically which happens. What is this child mapping? Everything basically we have already discussed in the previous long previous videos. In the topic that is lava creation. In lava creation, basically many parts basically are there. So in this basically we are discussing what the topic is child basically which is going to get birth basically, and the ideas basically which is going to connect. That is decided by whom basically, and where is that stage basically which is getting decided. Where is that stage basically which gets decided. So this connects to many areas basically. This connects to, assume that basically this connects to company wise. Company wise basically we have taken one example of the Microsoft told that basically we are going to generate 1 lakh child. So 1 crore child. So 1 crore child he is going to generate basically from his energy. That is a Microsoft energy. So he told that basically he basically he is only going to give the conditions that when basically this has to attract. So he told that basically we will create around 1 lakh conditions. So from 1 lakh conditions basically the 10 crore child, 1 crore child basically is going to get birth basically. And conditions basically are what? That basically we have already discussed. So that is basically one scenario. That basically when project basically are is ongoing, that time only basically they do. That time only they basically do. How basically? They creates habits. Habit basically are created, that basically everybody knows. For example, I am basically eating samosa, or I am eating bhajia. So that is basically if I am eating every week, every 3 2 weeks, every 3 2 days, that is basically habit basically. So that is actually created by certain group basically. According to that only basically you are going to get the energies. So that comes to what basically habit. So whenever the certain level of energy gets attract, that time basically he say that basically I want this item. So that connects to what? Habit basically. So these all are basically created. It's not like that basically that it has not created. So same way basically the Here also basically it comes. So whenever basically any person basically is going to connect to any habit, so he is going to connect to this all birth basically. That is the child data. There are 1 crore child data which is basically dumped inside the lava data, which is mapped basically in the project basically, that if this type of idea basically comes, sorry, this type of habit people basically are coming, and he is basically Microsoft resource. That means Microsoft basically decides which person basically is supposed to get which child. So he has decided in the project only basically. So that also basically we are going to decide how basically everything. So as in that basically he told that basically this whole habit basically the people basically they are going to get this type of child. That child designed he actually has done when the project basically was ongoing. That are basically what basically set of energies only basically. Set of energies which gets converts to chemicals basically. And then basically the everybody knows birth basically how happens. So here one of the person told that like this basically the childbirth basically happened. He told Microsoft told that basically when basically this type of habit people basically comes, for that basically I have already done the mapping. So they are going to get this type of habit basically. That also that project basically knows. The project basically which is ongoing of the 1 lakh company basically 10 crore project basically which is ongoing. In that basically they have dumped that this type of habit people basically is they are going to convert to this type of all habits basically. So you can just imagine basically the analysis group basically who are into the Microsoft corporation. They are basically getting 1 crore, 5 crore. They are basically not getting like that basically. Because their creation are up to that level. That means they know that basically when this crore, this type of that means they know that basically that time basically when the lava basically is going to take lava from lava the power supply is going to take basically from the certain power companies to do the certain level of ideas. In that idea basically this is also one of the tasks basically, that is when this idea basically people basically are going to do this all stuff basically at certain level of times, then basically they are going to connect to this child. So that time basically when the project was created, that time basically they know that basically this type of people basically are going to be there. So that is one scenario basically. In this basically you can't basically rely on one scenario basically, because by chance that scenario basically failed, then what you are going to do here basically, your entire Microsoft basically will get waste basically. So you can't rely on one resource. That is also basically one thing. You can't depend on any of the person basically. That is that I basically always tell basically when I was teaching the students, I always tell them basically, don't depend on anyone basically. Don't depend on anyone. If you are searching job, then basically you have to search for the job portal, this portal, that portal, this portal. If they are not helping, then pick up another portal or go for some other services basically. At least basically anybody is going to help basically. So one of the person told that Microsoft basically Bill Gates basically never depends on one idea. So one type is what basically what habit. Second was that brain creation basically. Whenever basically he's going to connect to these particular ideas and he's going to think up to that level, that time basically is child attraction basically data is going to connect to him. So that everything basically we have discussed. Then basically he told that like this assume that basically he created 1 lakh condition. So one condition failed, second condition failed, third condition failed. Assume basically that like 100 condition failed, but rest of they are there basically. So they are going to cover up the everything basically. So the project basically which is ongoing, that basically are the Microsoft group basically, that are the directors and senior programmers, managers. They basically have to do up to this level basically. If this fails, next, this fails, next, this fails, next. This basically connects to server basically. This connects to servers. That is basically the Amazon group basically. How basically Amazon group have thousand server basically, and how basically they are using the thousand servers basically, that we have already discussed. So exactly that replica basically is here basically. If one condition fails of Microsoft Bill Gates, another conditions are there. Then like this basically 1 lakh condition basically are created in from the Microsoft project. So Microsoft base project basically are created. That is the 1 lakh type basically. 1 lakh type basically I'm telling you. 1 lakh conditions. That means 1 lakh types of project Microsoft is going to do. Microsoft basically 1 lakh type means 10 crore, 1 crore project basically. Or basically you can say like that, 1 lakh project, 1 lakh project and 1 crore, sorry, 1 lakh companies and 100 crore project. From that, Microsoft is one company. In that, basically, 1 crore basically they are going to get a birth of child basically. That data basically they are going to produce. In that, basically, Microsoft told that basically we have 1 lakh conditions. In that, basically, assume that Microsoft told that basically we have created around 8 lakh projects. So, base of project basically is decided by whom? That is by Microsoft. For example, Accenture told that basically we want to create CRM. So the Microsoft know that basically it's Accenture, it's a big company. So they can basically dump their data there. Basically. They told that basically they can basically map that CRM project into one of the 1 lakh conditions. So from 1 lakh condition, basically they can map that project because they know that basically it's Accenture. So they are going to have very big projects only. Basically, they are not going to have small projects. Basically. And they are basically not going to pick the small companies. Basically, if they are picking the small companies, then basically lots of things basically you have to disclose in front of the public. Basically, that's why basically Microsoft basically never rely on small companies because you have to disclose lots of things. Basically. This thing basically you are doing, that company top directors, managers only knows that you are going to map this project into one of the 1 lakh conditions. So you can just imagine basically how the things are basically connected. Basically. One person told that Sunil, up to what level things are connected here? Basically, I want to basically know that. One of the satellite person told that because he was basically very dangerous person. He told that basically I basically know everything basically, entire universe, entire satellite, how basically from where the computer power supply has came basically from the satellite basically how many planets from the computer power supply basically has came from that computer power supply basically you are having the computer data basically, that also I know basically. But just basically you just imagine basically the things basically told that basically that from lava basically the things are going to convert to water, and after the water basically for example 10 10 crore projects is going to generate child, that data everything child wild everything entire process basically got done, ideas are also connected, power company told that basically our tasks are basically done. Now basically that land is not going to generate any of the power supply because data are basically over. So they told that basically AI tool is there basically when inside the lava data. They told that entire data basically are taken. So now basically the process is what? Water basically. That water basically is going to convert to land, and that also basically it's not a small level of water, it's a huge water basically. Entire Bangalore city will able to have that water for 100 years basically, up to that level water basically. You will not imagine basically. So that water basically they dump it into the So just imagine basically up to what level the software companies are doing the task basically, and it's a Bangalore city basically, and they are basically into the IT only. No? So they should do this whole thing basically, and they are basically telling that we are into R&D. ISRO basically group basically we have. So their group basically might be 100%. So they might be doing this everything basically. Otherwise, basically, one person told that yeah, basically I am trying, but I am not having. So one person told that you after try basically you will die basically. You are basically hungry, these that basically you are not getting job, these that basically after that basically you do the yaar matlab frustrated हो गया. Then also we are going to try na basically. It's not like that. So Bangalore is also like this basically situation basically. So they have to keep on trying. In this basically this project is the best example. So they have to take the initiative basically. They have to connect to ISRO. They have to connect to NASA. They basically can't sit idle basically. They have to keep trying basically. They can't sit idle basically because otherwise basically one day Bangalore will become Banjar Jameen. Banjar Jameen you understand basically. That basically comes to one person basically got marriage from first marriage basically he basically his first marriage group basically done his nasbandi. That basically that person basically was not doing when basically he was sleeping that time basically his nasbandi was done. So second marriage basically when he was doing basically that time basically he tracked that basically when he basically given the report to the doctors basically why basically I'm not getting the birth basically. That time doctor told that basically your nasbandi has done basically. That is basically the he will never able to become father. So that is called as a banjar jameen. So exactly Bangalore basically is not supposed to do like that basically. So what I told basically that basically you might have understand basically. So one of the person told that you basically can't trust on anyone basically. You basically can't trust on anyone basically. You basically can't trust. So that is basically different topic basically. That also we are going to discuss one day basically. States, cities, countries, how basically that is. So basically, you can just imagine basically the lava data basically converted, and you will not believe 100 years basically the Bangalore city will get the water up to that level. The lava data basically generates the water basically. So that water basically do the process in certain level of lands. Then basically rule says that they have to go to sea. Why basically it's there also basically might be some reason. Process is there no, basically it's a process. So they told that in sea basically that water basically has went. Now the requirement is they told that basically in Bangalore basically we required water. So the after sea water basically the exact same replica water basically was dumped into the Bangalore city land basically. You can just imagine basically nothing basically happens automatically. Lots of people say that in borewell basically water basically we are digging basically and water is coming. That is not coming automatically basically. Lots of process basically are ongoing in the land basically. You will not believe basically, and that the people are basically doing that kind of powerful people basically are there in the world basically. You will not able to believe that basically. So here, what is the thing? Bangalore got the water of 100 years. Then basically that water basically was consumed by the peoples. Lots of state people came that they each and every, but you can track basically up to what level this water has reached. Because body consumes the water, it basically goes to these that each and every area basically generates blood cells. It basically goes to energy level, then basically it consumes the power supply data, then basically it produce the human needs also because there also with water basically was used. So do you have the entire mapping of this water? There is no answer basically. Why? Because after consuming the energy, the NASA group basically takes the data of each and every energies, humans energy, and then basically it goes to the satellites, and then basically the planets are created, and their planets basically are connecting to the many planets. So to what level the planets basically have connected this water basically? Do you have that list basically? There was no answer basically, and there is no answer also of this basically. If you will get this answer basically one day basically, then Earth planet basically will never get end. The universe group will never end the world. They will say that Earth planet is basically one powerful resource basically for the universe. They basically will say that Earth planet has converted into very powerful resource, and that basically companies groups basically only can do because they only have the power. So here, what was the topic basically? Here the topic was 1 lakh companies, 10 crore projects, and that connected to 100 crore child. So you can just imagine basically what the software companies are doing. So one of the person to that any of the software company might be knowing this basically. Actually, they are doing this. Other than base company that is Microsoft, SAP, PHP, Oracle, Fox Pro, Java groups. Other than this group, basically anybody group might be knowing this basically. That is a top level company basically. They might be knowing. Why? Because Microsoft basically have to inform that basically. This process basically we are doing. That is this 1 lakh condition basically your company basically is going to generate. That's why basically you got the project. On the basis of that only basically you have got the project. If you want to do that project, then do that project. So Accenture company basically if gets 100 crore, 200 crore, they are 100% going to do that project basically. 200 crore is a small amount basically. 200 crore basically, the company basically salary will get out basically of the entire Accenture. Basically. So they are going to leave that 2 crore, 200 crore. They are going to take that project. In that basically they are going to take that project. So you can just imagine basically. I basically can't imagine basically. I am telling you basically there is no software which keeps the data of like this. But one of the person told that from satellite basically you have to do this everything basically. But you can't reach to satellites basically. There is a boundary basically which has drawn. But at least basically Earth planet related you can do that because you can't connect to the satellites from Earth planet. They only can basically connect to you. So you can just imagine basically how the things basically are created. So one of the person told that Microsoft basically is going to generate 1 crore child. That he basically already informed and already announced to his people basically because he is it's a very critical task basically. It's a very dangerous task basically actually the Microsoft is doing basically. You will not able to believe that basically. 1 crore child means they are going to connect to certain level of ideas. This computer basically is one idea basically. And now see basically what computers are doing basically. So they are doing very dangerous tasks. So in future basically it might possible that they might have dumped some ideas and that idea basically is ruling the world. And there basically if any error basically comes, then basically what are the thing basically just imagine basically what the universe groups are going to do. Same way assume that basically somebody has dumped the computer idea. Some error basically which was tracked by the satellite group. So they are going to do what basically? You just imagine. Universe group basically. You can just imagine basically. They are actually generated the power chain basically. So Microsoft told that basically I have created 1 lakh conditions from the projects. So whenever these conditions are going to match, the childbirth basically data is all automatically going to connect to his body and to his whoever basically is doing the activities, sexual activities. So you can just imagine basically to what level the world basically has connected. And this basically is the biggest project also basically you can say. So Microsoft told that basically I have created this 1 lakh conditions basically. For that basically I have created many projects. He told that basically I have created more than 8 to 9 lakh projects basically. For that basically one project basically it expense basically was 500 to 600 crore. Because if Accenture like company basically is taking the project, they might be taking the money also up to that level. So total overall expense basically connected to 500 600 crore overall expense. So you can just imagine basically. So one of the person told that 1 lakh is the project, sorry, 1 lakh is the condition which Microsoft is creating. So one of the person told that how many condition basically he has created from Accenture. So he is creating the 1 lakh condition. So he might be having the track, entire track basically he might be having that. So he might be having the reports also. He might be preparing reports also that 1 lakh is the condition, and that 1 lakh condition basically according to that the ideas are going to connect, and the set of datas are going to connect, and on the base of data the birth is going to happen. So you can just imagine basically the 1 lakh condition basically which he is going to create, and he might have created that up to what level the stuffs basically are connected with. They basically have to check up to the level basically I'm telling you. First basically they have to check in earth planet that each and every step process basically they have to check, and they have to check from the body parts only basically, from the bodies only. That 1 lakh condition basically he has dumped, so that condition is basically getting matched. So they have to check that basically dumping the data into the human bodies, and in that basically he have to use his resource only, no other resource basically he can't basically. For that basically they take the permission also basically, you will not believe basically. For this basically the Supreme Court, High Court basically gives the permission also. In that basically they specifically say that basically it should be your resources only, otherwise basically it will create problem against the rules basically you are doing. So you can just imagine. Then basically suddenly basically satellite group basically asked the question. Sunil, basically you got the job now. He actually asked this question basically. So what has happened basically? That he's basically is telling that basically, have you got the job now, Sunil? So you can just imagine basically. And Sunil Larnar answer basically was no satellite group basically. Still basically I have not got the job. Still basically I am struggling for the job. So you can just imagine basically that was my personal basically. In between this topic basically I added it. So 1 lakh project basically which the software companies are doing basically, they are earning basically money, good money basically. They have to earn basically good money because they are doing very dangerous tasks basically. They only basically can't believe that basically that they are doing this many dangerous tasks basically. So for that basically, how many projects basically are designed? Microsoft basically told that I have basically going to create 1 lakh conditions. In that basically he told that habit condition is there, eating foods conditions are there, then the brain use conditions are there. So how basically is creating these all projects? That is question. Na? He might be he's telling that basically 1 lakh project basically is creating, right? Sorry, 1 lakh conditions basically is creating. In that 1 lakh conditions basically, he told that 1 crore basically is the child basically which has to take the birth. In that basically he told that 8 lakh project basically he has used to create this 1 lakh condition. So one condition is basically habit condition that I have already discussed. When basically you are going to touch this or basically touch like this, then attraction basically is going to happen and the birth process basically is going to start. Both basically have to do. Girls also have to do and boys basically also do. Then he will connect to the attraction basically. Energy. You will not able to believe that basically. And that was said by Microsoft Bill Gates. So he told that basically how basically this project basically I am going to do. That basically is one project basically. That are basically set of projects basically. So how he is going to do basically. So he told that this blood cells basically you have to take. For that basically you have to generate this type of where basically the ear blood cells basically connects and which type of blood cells basically are in near ear basically, that he have to check, that each and every check basically you have to do, and then basically you have to check basically that the blood basically data basically which the ear side is basically having going to create, because he have to touch like this basically, he have to do some habit basically. So for that basically blood cells is required, or basically he have to the Microsoft basically have to do some process basically, so that every time basically he gets like this. So how many projects basically he has created? So he told that to create that basically project, we created set of blood cells, and blood cells are equal to set of cities, and set of cities are basically equal to what? Set of conditions. Set of conditions equal to set of ideas. Example is MBA book. MBA book basically you read 100 times. In that basically how basically that energy basically connects to you. But here one of the person told that basically he's going to dump one blood cells basically inside his body, that he basically have to do always this type of thing basically. So what data basically is going to create basically? Then he told that data basically means what data basically? Then he basically told that what data? Then basically the Microsoft group told that for that basically he have to use something basically source basically, he can take the help of any education group basically. From that the energy basically he can dump that this type of habit energy inside that each and every human. In that pipeline basically they can add that data. Otherwise basically they can use the, that is basically the ideas pipeline basically I'm telling you. Otherwise basically how is going to connect to that habit basically? So he told that basically we can use that data basically, that is the educational data, or basically for this specially basically we have to use special pipeline, and that is going to cost too much. That is going to cost too much. So he told that basically if the project is very big basically, then basically we can create the special pipelines. in the environment basically. And from that data basically we are going to pass this type of data, so that basically whenever basically few basically people which was selected by Microsoft, and they basically attracts the data to near the ear, and then basically they literally basically they do like this basically. That connects to idea, and then basically the opposite is the girl basically, that also connects to attraction. So like this basically Microsoft told that, that is basically just one example. Like this basically many one lakh conditions basically are there. In that basically he can use any type of conditions. But that is very dangerous thing basically. That is very dangerous thing. Then basically one of the person told that this is basically one habit basically which you have created. That is a 1 lakh conditions. Like this basically 1 lakh condition basically was created by set of cities creation. In that basically special pipeline basically are used, or basically the existing pipeline basically which is basically like educational, other educational data pipeline, this that is every data. In that data basically they dump their conditions also. So they told that basically like this basically we are ongoing, and our 1 lakh condition basically we have checked also. After that, basically, they told that to the High Courts and Supreme Court, these all are the data basically which we have tested, and these all are the 1 lakh conditions which basically is got satisfied, and this is the blood reports data and body parts data also. That body parts basically after generating these blood cells, nothing has happened to the body parts. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the things are basically connected and which is getting used. So when company, one of the software company basically, when they are creating the software basically, they have to think up to the level basically, because it might possible that somebody use their projects in this way, and they mostly basically the company uses the project basically. It's not like that basically they don't use. So it's not like that basically they don't use. So another person told them like this basically 1 lakh condition created. Like this basically SAP, Microsoft, PHP, Python, Java, Fox Pro, C, C++, all basically groups created their conditions also. In that basically they are using the projects, and which are basically created in like companies like Accenture, Patani, eClerx, Capgemini, 3 and Infotech. Like this basically companies are getting the projects, and they basically gets the project on the base of conditions, that this is the condition, on the base of that basically you have got the project, on the base of that basically you have got the project. So you can just imagine basically how the business chain basically are connected, na, basically if you are getting any one business basically, they are giving you the business, so they have some certain level of condition only, then only basically they are giving you the business, na, basically otherwise basically why they are going to giving the business to you only basically. That is also question basically, that also basically you have to think. So you can just imagine basically up to what level things basically are connected. So one of the person told that like this basically the Microsoft told that basically we will give 1 crore child in the lava data. Java told that basically we will give 1 crore child in the lava data. Like this basically they told that we are going to generate 1 crore, sorry, 100 crore child and their human needs and ideas. Human needs and ideas. So you can just imagine. I basically can't imagine. Basically, you can imagine basically 100 crore child basically is going to get birth from that lava basically. That is not possible here. Basically, how you can imagine? And that data basically we are creating basically 1 lakh project basically which is ongoing. of the Microsoft Corporation, Java, these PHP, like this Python, C, C++. These all groups are basically involved in this basically. And like this, basically, we have discussed lots of things. So in next video, basically, we are going to see little bit more detail about this stuff. Basically, that is basically the lava creation from 1 lakh 1 lakh companies. They told that basically we have created this 10 crore projects. In 10 crore project is in this basically projects, whatever number basically. I'm not basically going to the number. 10 crore projects basically from one company you are going to create. And in this basically, Microsoft basically got around 8 lakh projects. And from that 8 lakh basically they are going to generate 1 crore child. So like this, each and every company is basically divided their data and going to dump the data to the lava. That actually we have discussed. And lots of things basically we have discussed. But in detail basically we are going to discuss little bit more about in next video.